particularly tasty big lounge breakfast yesterday, which was...
Is that what you sent me the picture of?
It is indeed.
Yeah,
it is.
damn.
It is. That is always a highlight of the week. Whenever that happens,
I wouldn't be able to eat that whole thing, but I would not. I wouldn't want to leave it there, so I'd be like, "Can I take this home with me?"
Fantastically, I've managed to work out a completely symbiotic relationship with Amy, to where in kind of a trade, because she doesn't like the black pudding, she gives that to me, and then in return she gets a Cumberland sausage, and then from that,
I bet she does. She gives me the pudding, I give her the sausage.
And then I give her one of my toasts, and she gives me the fatty parts of the bacon because she doesn't like that part. On top of the extra streaky bacon that I do order.
Nice.
And then I eat it in this order. It arrives. I salt the plate slightly. I eat the big mushroom first. They used to be baby button mushrooms, but they've downgraded to one big one. So I'm like, okay, kind of preferred the baby button, but it's still a mushroom. I'll eat it. It still tastes the same. But then once that's done, I chop the corners off the hash browns, dip those in the egg yolk, eat that. Then once I've tactically eaten the hash browns, okay, the egg, all the remaining egg, yolkless egg now, scooped on to the toast, okay? At this point, I turn my attention to everything else. Go through the black pudding, the sausage, of course the bacon. Bacon's the main event. And then what I do, stir up the beans, pour the beans on the egg on the toast, and you have egg and beans on toast, which is a whole other meal next to all the other shit you just ate. So, yeah.
All right. Thank you and good night, everybody. That's been Big Breakfast with Eddie Sparxx.
Yep. That's how it's done.
That's got to be the beginning of the episode.
Absolutely.
That was just too good.
Have you ever watched, what's it called? Joe Pera Talks With You. You ever watched that?
No.
So it's basically like Mr. Rogers for adults, where it's like, it's really sweet, it's really wholesome. It's this just generally really nice dude who just helps you see the beauty in the mundane, you know. There's a whole episode about him just going to order breakfast. Each episode is about 10 minutes long, but there's like adult humor, and to counter Joe Pera's, you know, soft-spoken demeanor, you have Connor O'Malley, who plays a completely insane neighbor who is just fucking nuts. And he basically does in that episode what I just did, but he does what's called the perfect egg bite. And it like suddenly changes to a like tutorial about halfway through about how to do the perfect egg bite. And right after he's done it, he turns to everyone. He goes, "Love you, babe. Let's find out if I've done it." And because you need to get the whole unbroken yolk in your mouth, he misses it and immediately goes, "Fuck! Oh, did it again!" It's so funny. It's a great show, but it's one of those really wholesome ones at the same time. Yeah. It's nice. Joe Pera Talks With You gets a shout out.
Okay. All right. Well, that was a hell of a beginning right there.
Yeah.
Now I'm hungry. So
yeah, me too.
Let's call it.
I just ate. I could go again.
I just had a couple breakfast tacos earlier. That's all I've had today. They were good though. But
what sets a breakfast taco apart from a regular taco? Is it just at breakfast? Or are there ingredients that are specific to the breakfast taco?
Yeah, in a well, it depends on the where you're getting them from and what kind of taco it is. But the big difference for breakfast tacos normally is that they use things like eggs and potato and stuff like that. So like my favorite breakfast taco would probably be egg, potato, and chorizo on like a flour tortilla. And that's what I normally like. You can get them with bacon or sometimes with the brisket. They'll put brisket on it or something.
Yeah.
Then I feel like for later day, for like lunch, dinner tacos, that's when you're adding in beans and rice, or if you want.
Yeah.
Or honestly, like my favorite taco is just like a street taco, which really like the only thing you put on it is like whatever the meat of your choice is, and then you put onion and cilantro, and that's it. That's all you put on it, and it's just perfect.
Nice.
Because the thing that kind of sucks about the modern, I don't know if it's modern, but tacos that I've just grown up with is that so many places just put too much shit on the taco, and I'm like, it's not necessary. It's like if you're going to put all those ingredients together, why not just give me two separate tacos and split the ingredients up? Put two, different meat on each one, and give me a different, give me kind of a good experience with the taco. But when you put so much shit on it, most of it's falling out of the taco. That's another thing that bums me out about food is that so many food like videos and things, they seem to make it like you're supposed to enjoy that food is messy. And I'm like, I don't want food to be messy ever, which is why I don't eat chicken wings, because that's fucking, I don't want that. That's too messy. And so when somebody, makes me like a burger or a sandwich and I'm taking a bite and shit is just falling out of it, I'm like, this is a poorly made sandwich and burger.
You want to know my take that I don't think is hot, but somehow isn't common? Burgers should be wider, not taller.
We talked about this before. Yeah, I absolutely agree. Which is why if you're ever around my neck of the woods, you get a Whataburger and that shit. They do it right there. Whataburger is the shit. But I love a wider and not taller burger. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man. This is Cranked and Ranked, by the way.
Food and chewed.
Food and chewed. But hi everyone. Welcome to Cranked and Ranked, where we rank band discographies, and we often have tangents that we go off on that are completely unmusic related. This one just happened to be at the very beginning of the episode.
Can I just do one more shout out before we finish?
Yeah.
Just wrap this section up. So there's a little chain down here in Cornwall called Habaneros. Ooh. And they're like a burrito place. And dude, if anyone,
do they use habanero peppers on some of their food?
Some, okay. But I like to get the pulled pork burrito with crushed tortillas. And
so it's crunchy on the inside?
It can be if you want.
Oh, yes. Yes.
So I order that with the crushed tortilla chips and their Southwest Chipotle sauce, which is on the milder side. I like their spicier sauces too, but if I'm going I want to enjoy this, I just get the Chipotle Southwest Chipotle sauce.
I've gotten a little bit. My love for spiciness has kind of waned as I've gotten older. So now, like, my favorite spice is when it's just like that little bit spicy to where you can feel it when you're eating it, but it doesn't linger in your mouth when you're done. Like that's the perfect spiciness for me.
Dude, I ate one of those Budak Korean pot noodles the other day, and I nearly fucking died. I had like 2 glasses of milk afterwards.
Yeah.
That to me is the shame of it was they tasted really good. It just really fucking hurt to eat.
Yeah. I had one like that. I guess it technically would be because it's pot noodle is just like a little. You heat up, you put water in it, and you heat up the noodles. Yeah, right? Yeah. But I have those occasionally for lunch. Just they're not called that here, but I had one the other day because my wife grabbed one of each kind and then grabbed like the super hot kind. I'm like, you know what? I'm just gonna try it. And I like halfway through, I'm like, I think this tastes good, but I can't tell through all the fucking spiciness.
Yeah.
But Oh, before we begin though, we have to acknowledge the fact that it's June 8th right now, and June 3rd was our 5th anniversary.
Yeah.
We're not married, but like podcast. So Cranked and Ranked has been around for 5 years now. And not only that, we have surpassed 200 episodes as a podcast.
Hey.
So on the YouTube side of things, we've got more because we did like live streams and a few other things on YouTube. But as a podcast, we are now over the 200 mark. And can you I can't even, I know we've been doing it for 5 years, but I see the number 200. I'm like, we've done 200 episodes?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to be honest, like the thing that's spinning me out at the minute is I went to go check on a video called Me at the Zoo, and it's the first ever YouTube video. And it's uploaded,
yeah.
And it's just a guy talking about the elephants at the zoo. It's kind of a test run for the site, but they left it up. And I've seen for the first time today YouTube videos that say 20 years old on them.
Oh, yeah.
And the thing is, I've just done the math. We've been doing this for a full quarter of YouTube's life.
Oh, nice.
That's wild as well. Like, we've been doing this a while.
I remember the reason I first ever started using YouTube, and that was because an early viral thing from Saturday Night Live. It was the Lazy Sunday song sketch.
Yeah.
The Chronic What Calls of Narnia. It's the Chronic What Calls of Narnia. And so I just remember like reading something where it's like it went viral on YouTube. I'm like, what the fuck is YouTube? So I ended up going to YouTube for the first time, and I was like, oh, they got videos on here. And that had to have been 2007, maybe.
Yeah, I remember
6, 7, I don't know.
I'd just turned 8 years old, and I wanted to watch Doctor Who stuff, and I happened to walk in on sat where we are or where I am right now was it was the company. It was a tiny PC. It wasn't tiny. It was huge, but that was the company. It was tiny. huge CRT monitor, fucking big ass, cream colored tower next to it.
Yeah.
Huge printer. Whole shebang.
I do not miss those fucking towers. Like,
But yeah, this I happened to walk in and he was watching YouTube videos of like bands and stuff. I was like, oh wow, can you watch whatever you want on there? He said, yeah, go for it. What do you want to watch? I said, hey, can you look up Doctor Who clips? And there was like so much Doctor Who on there, and I was just like my young head was like blown clean off my shoulders because I was like, I can just watch bits of Doctor Who whenever I fucking want, and like now I do that on my phone on the toilet.
Yeah.
So we've come full circle.
Yeah. And for the podcast side of things, do you remember the first podcast you listened to? Because I remember the first one I listened to.
I remember the first podcast I listened to properly was Podcast Croissant, which is the Faith No More podcast. And I happened to go on like Faith No More followers website, and I was like, oh, I've always loved what these guys post. I'm going to listen to the podcast. And like, I think I started listening on episode 2 because I remember when episode 3 came out, and I've probably listened to every episode of that show at least 10 times.
Do they still make new ones?
Yeah, but they've one of the dudes has had a baby, so it's very hard to nail down time. They are still doing it, and they're still very committed to it.
Yeah.
But they pack so much information into it, and they go way deeper than they need to, but they do it for the love of the band, and I just love that. Like Faith No More is probably right behind Metallica as like a favorite top of the list for me. So
yeah.
And they're so interesting to talk about. They're such a weird band with so much history.
Yeah, man. Last night while I was just having some drinks and watching stuff, on YouTube they posted the full Pink Pop performance of Faith No More from like 1995, and I'd never seen it before.
Yeah,
and that lineup of the band was great because I don't know who was playing guitar at that point. It wasn't the more recent, because he was great with the band, but like the crowd was really into it, and I was like, that is an energetic and really cool performance. And I had never seen it before, but it just sucks because now I think about Faith No More, and there's that part of me that I'm just like, why are they not doing stuff together? Why is he not returning their phone calls? Like, what is happening? Is he truly? Does he just not want to do Faith No More? And that obviously, I respect anybody's decision to do whatever they want to do, but for somebody like me that I've been really into that band longer than most bands, longer than Metallica. I've been into Faith No More. Since 1989, I've been into Faith No More. And just so that part of me goes, oh, it sucks. I want you guys to be friends. I want you guys to be buddies. I want Jim Martin to come back and everybody to make up and make an album and have fun. And that's all I want. Yeah. But I know that's not
for them all to slide down the fire pole like in the Beatles movie and everything be like that. And,
I would love it. I would love it. No, but
I'd love Faith No More, the animated series. I think that would be fucking great.
Yeah, that would be great. No, but the on the podcast tip before we move on to the band we're actually talking about today.
Yes. Oh my God.
My first podcast was the Ricky Gervais Show. Early 2000s. I don't remember what year that was. 2000. I don't remember.
Dude, the Carl Pilkington bits from that are so funny.
And then very soon after that, Smodcast by Kevin Smith came out, and I listened to that religiously as well. But I still go back and like the first Ricky Gervais Show run, the first 2-3 podcast seasons of that are still so good. I just have them saved, and I'll just randomly go back and listen to them again because it's always funny. None of it ever gets old. So anyway. So here we are, podcast. We're 5 years old as a podcast. We're 200 episodes in, and we're going to be spending this episode in the fucking 60s and 70s.
Yeah,
with the Creedence Clearwater Revival, or CCR, as a lot of people just refer to them as, because that's a mouthful of a name. Creedence Clearwater Revival. If you say that a lot, your mouth gets a workout. Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Ow now, brown cow.
So this one was a suggestion from Eddie Sparxx, because Eddie Sparxx is really into Creedence Clearwater Revival, and so we're ranking all 7 of their albums. And the one thing I can tell you is that I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed Architects. So
I thought you would, because there was part of me that was like, there's elements of this that I know you're not going to get on with.
Oh, I have a lot of complaints.
But there are elements where I think that some things are going to click and you're going to be like, okay, that's cool.
There's one album, and obviously it will be my number one, but there was one album that I legitimately liked the whole album. So that's something.
And I think I might be able to predict which one it is, and I'm not going to give it away.
Well, let me know later if it is. But okay. So as usual, we talk about where the band came into our lives, and with Creedence is a band that's just always been around. Because they've been on movie soundtracks, and songs were on classic rock radio. But I had never
Vietnam War movie.
all sorts of movies. And anytime Vietnam, the war in fucking Vietnam.
Anytime there's a Huey flying over a jungle, it's just there.
It's either Fortunate Son or Run Through the Jungle or something. Yeah. They go well with it, but So I never listened to a full Creedence album until now, but I knew obviously the greatest hits, and then I remember, because I think I talked to you about this before. There was one particular song, and I couldn't remember what it was called, but a friend of mine made me a mixtape and put this song on there, and I was like, this song's really cool. This isn't the same old Creedence stuff, and it was Walking on Water or Walk on the Water or whatever. That was the song that was on the comp that I had, and I was like, "This is actually a cool song." But yeah, never wanted to get into them, and it's only because there are so many of their songs, some of which are massive hits, that just drive me up the fucking wall. And so, if your big songs are just kind of really turn me off, I'm never gonna if I didn't do this podcast, I never would have listened to all of their albums. But now I'm glad I did, because I know them. I know, this kind of the story of their. I even read up on what was going on with the band during some of these albums, and it's another example of a band, back in the day that.
Sorry.
What?
Sorry, you froze there for me for about like 5 seconds. Sorry.
Why is my internet connection unstable? I am hardwired to self-destruct, sir. Anyway, hopefully it didn't on the video, but I was just saying that I don't even know where I was. But yeah, I
feel reading up on the band, and
yeah. And so I feel like they were another case, like a lot of bands around that time, that they experienced a lot of success, very quickly, and then rapidly put out a bunch of stuff. But I don't think that they were they didn't get along. And it doesn't help when you have like one person in the band that is the band essentially. So it doesn't help. But anyway, so we've got 7 albums to talk about, and then for you, do you have a specific like memory of is Creedence in? Creedence has got to be in one of the Grand Theft Auto games, right?
Yep. Green River is on the KDST radio station The Dust on GTA San Andreas.
Did the band Green River name themselves after that album?
I would assume so.
Yeah.
I would have thought so.
It would make sense.
Yeah. And I just found myself drawn to it because I was like, it's got kind of a groove to it. But in that classic rock way that I just happened to be looking for at the time, but something happened for me around 2018 where all of a sudden the 70s really opened up for me, where I was like, I'm really into this, like, much rawer, much drier, swampier, riffier thing. And
one thing that kept popping into my head as we were listening to this, as I was listening to the albums, is I feel like one day it would be cool to do the Doobie Brothers.
What a fool believes.
Is that a Doobie Brothers song, or is that a Michael McDonald song?
I'm pretty sure it's. Let me look it up.
All I know is that the handful of Doobie Brothers songs that I've heard over the years, I love them, and I've just never listened to full albums. So that's they're much more like, I don't know, soulful, I guess. I don't know.
The best known version of What a Fool Believes was recorded by the Doobie Brothers.
Oh, sweet.
With McDonald singing lead vocals, which, funnily enough, that song is in a GTA game as well. It's in GTA 5 on Los Santos Rock Radio, hosted by Kenny Loggins himself. Which is great.
All right, Kenny Loggins. All right, well, we're just bringing out the big guns today.
Yeah.
Anyway, all right, well, cool. Then let's hop into it, because we have 7 albums, and it's I feel like our number 7s are going to be the same. So let's find out real quick. Let's start off. I'll throw it over to Eddie Sparxx to start us off with his number 7 Creedence Clearwater Revival album.
My number 7 is Mardi Gras.
Same, yeah.
Okay, yep. So clocking in at 28 minutes and 20 seconds. It's a full-blown country rock album. Now, I don't hate that the way you do.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. There's very little residual Creedence spirit I find on this one. This one kind of feels to me like they're in Through the Outdoor, but even more so in the Departure department.
It almost feels like they were ascending up this mountaintop of making better and better music, and then they just fell off a fucking cliff and then put out this album.
Tell you what the problem was. They took a couple years off, because up until that point, over the course of 2 years, they put out 6 albums that are all acclaimed, but this one just I think the thing is you got a lot of different writers and a lot of different lead vocal performances on this. Yeah, because like John Fogerty up until this point has been the voice of the band, But
And let's be fair. I'm going to be. I mean, I can't be the only one that thinks this. Through this whole thing, the only consistently good thing about Creedence Clearwater Revival is John Fogerty's voice. Like,
great voice.
Like that's the
Incredible.
only thing that through every single song I couldn't find. I was just like, he always sounds good. And then once you bring in other singers, I'm just like, nope, that's not what I'm here for.
Yeah.
I read that like that they weren't getting along, and the other guys wanted to sing songs. It almost feel like he just went, "Go ahead, sing some songs," and then they put out an album, and everybody hates it. And John Fogerty's like, "Going solo,
Yeah.
later, guys."
Yeah, because 4 of the album's 10 songs feature John Fogerty, and the other are sung by Stu Cook and Doug Clifford, and they're
And a
just
whole lot of
not
covers
as
on
good.
this too.
Yeah, yeah. It's one of those where like I could listen to it and not get annoyed, but in the context of everything that came before it, there was no doubt in my mind that this is the outlier here, where it's like, wow, ruh-roh, Raggy. There was something working, and we diverted from that.
Yeah, it's like one of the biggest like fall offs of any band I've ever heard. Like even bands that just did something different and kind of abandoned their sound, and then people didn't like it. Even then, you can, there are plenty of albums like that I love and other people love. This is one where it's just like, even in songwriting and everything, it's just like they just took huge steps backward and just kind of phoned in this album.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they were contractually obligated to do one more Creedence album or something. But it seems so thrown together. And after, Pendulum, it really felt like they were going places. And then this is just this huge letdown. I can only imagine being if you were a fan and you kind of following their ascendance and their progression, this had to have been like, what the fuck is this? I guess if you're a gigantic Creedence fan, you're like, well, it's one more Creedence album than we would have had if they hadn't done it. But I just feel like it's a very dull and uninspired album, and it's just proof that John Fogerty was Creedence Clearwater Revival, and so they should have just had him take the lead. But I think if he had his choice, he would have just been doing a solo album at this point. I don't think he would have done a Creedence album, and kind of shows. But
Yeah, and I think this was done as a 3-piece, right? Without Tom Fogerty, because he left.
I think he leave. I think he may have left before Pendulum, right? I feel like in the middle of like their run, he left because he wanted to go solo, and he went solo first.
So he was on Pendulum.
Oh, okay. So he quickly left after that then.
Yeah. It was very much a case of there was.
And I don't know if I've heard any albums by him, but he was the first one to go solo.
Interesting. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much Mardi Gras.
Yeah, Mardi Gras. The title sounds like more of a party than the album actually is. Yeah, it's. I mean, it really is one of those, like, it sounds like the band needed to call it quits, and then they did. And have they ever reunited ever? I don't know if they have.
Have a look. I'll look on the thing,
because there's something about a band that had that kind of lasting impact and that kind of, where they're still, you still hear their songs today. And it's, in all of this fucking time, there hasn't been a Creedence Clearwater Revival reunion. Creedence Clearwater Reunion. There you go. I coined the name for you guys.
I think there was one called Creedence Clearwater Revisited, where some of them got together.
Some of them, but who? Some of them meaning who?
let me have a look. Creedence Clearwater Revisited.
Clearwater.
Vietnam Days Revisited. Let's have a look. Creedence Clearwater Revisited was an American rock band formed in 1995 by bassist Stu Cook and drummer Doug Clifford to play live versions of the band's music. So,
Without John Fogerty.
yes.
Yeah.
I did actually see. I saw recently there is a. They're a tribute to Creedence Clearwater Revival called Clearwater Creedence Revival. They've just swapped the words around, but they're a really good tribute, and the all the players are crazy good. And
yeah, have you noticed that over as of recent, maybe within the past 10 years or so, maybe even longer, the idea of the cover band isn't so frowned upon anymore, and there are these really well put together cover bands for like all kinds of different bands. I mean, there's a Metallica one from Houston that's actually really good. And it's just so funny because I'm just like, man, people used to just make fun of that shit, but now it's like, where are you going tonight? I'm going to see the Soundgarden cover band called Outshined, and it's like, all right. I mean, I wouldn't be able to do that because I would constantly feel like I was fucking up other people's music, even if I was really good at it. I still wouldn't. I wouldn't even play I wouldn't even do like a fucking Sex Pistols or Ramones. Well, something more simple. I wouldn't even do that because I'd be like, I'm gonna get it wrong, and the fans are gonna be mad.
Well, I guess with that then, should we move on to our
number 6? Yep.
Number 6. So, the thing the thing I've only just put together now. That whole trope of metal bands standing in a forest and looking moody?
Yeah.
Were Creedence the first band to do that? Because like their first 3 albums are that.
Well, I think the difference is that there are other bands that did that in the 70s. And there's a difference between I'm in a forest looking moody and then there's I'm in a forest on a lot of acid and I don't know how I got here. And I think that's...
These trees are beautiful, man.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that, I guess I haven't really...
What is your number 6? Everybody's waiting.
What is my number 6? My number 6 is the debut, Creedence Clearwater Revival.
Same here. We matched up on that one too.
Okay, very very cool, very cool. So, it's pretty cover heavy.
Yep.
There are several covers on it. They're good.
And covering their own songs too, like when they did under a different name previously.
Yeah. Which is another layer of clearly this, this is like the embryonic thing of like, this is what we sound like, and we're gonna build off of this a lot more.
Yeah.
And we're gonna do it better. But as far as setting the aesthetic up for this band, I think this is leagues above Mardi Gras. Like we're already in a zone where it's like, this is a band that has an identity and is confident in that identity.
It at least sounds like a band excited to be making music and being in a band. They sound cohesive, like they're on a mission together, and that helps.
Yeah, which is great to hear, and it's got the Creedence vibe right out of the gate. The only thing is, I think they went on to do stronger stuff and more interesting stuff. So in terms of good Creedence, it begins here, but it's half covers. It's a diver down situation. Half of it is cover, and it's very early stages of what they'd go on to do. And to be honest, the following year, they put out 3 albums, and they all sound like an evolution from the next. So,
Jesus Christ, 3 fucking albums.
Well, you look at the timeline. It took me and the guys in Sage 5 years to finally get Blinded sorted out, which, by the way, has been taken off of Spotify.
I saw that.
We got fucking scammed by a quote unquote talent agency, distribution, get you on playlists and shit like that. Turns out they were botting all of our streams.
Can I ask you a question?
Go on.
Did they contact you or did you contact them initially?
Callum dealt with all that, so I don't know the ins and outs
because
what they did.
I fell victim to this kind of thing too. When I first started doing supporting actor, I had some random dude from some random company. I can't even remember the name of the company now that contacted me saying that like he loved my music. He heard it on Bandcamp and he wanted to help promote me. He even like called me on the phone and we had like an hour-long conversation about his connections and what he could do in order to get my music. Not only like I still put it on the streamers myself, but he was sending it to websites and magazines and blah, blah, blah. And even telling me that he was going to get it in movies and TV shows. And it sounded legit. And I paid the motherfucker some money. And he kept sending me things like, you've been added to this radio rotation in this thing you've never heard of. You have a write-up in this magazine that you've never heard of before online. And it was like, it was all very weird. And they had a website where they had reviews from bands saying, oh, it was so great, like what they did. But then I remember like, I started writing my second EP and recording it. And I was contacting him like, all right, are we going to like, continue pushing this stuff out? Never got another fucking response from that guy.
Yeah.
And couldn't get anyone to contact me back. And then eventually months and months later, I was just like, well, I guess I got scammed. And motherfucker took my money.
They'll message you so quickly when they want fucking money.
Yeah.
Right? But if you bring up, hey, some of these figures aren't adding up and we're puzzled by this.
Yeah.
And I tell you what, right, I'm going to basically verbatim, for any bands or artists listening to this right now, here's what we put on our Facebook page. Due to wrongfully trusting what seemed to be a legit playlisting service, our album Blinded has been taken down from Spotify due to artificial streams and botting. Rest assured it'll be up ASAP, but, we need help to build the streams back up. In the meantime, we implore all of our musical friends to never use solid state talent. They will fuck you in the butt. And it will hurt.
No, but you might be into that, but it's not good butt fucking.
No, they go in dry. And that sucks.
Yeah.
So, with that,
that fucking blows. Yeah. Just go with one of the well-known, like just go to like DistroKid or something like that for that, because those are at least, they've been around long enough and, I don't know. That fucking sucks that people take advantage of people like that.
Well, the thing is, we're turning this around as like kind of like an omen where we're like, oh, that's fine. What we're going to do is if you're going to take the album down, we're going to go through. And we had a chat about this, and I wasn't convinced initially, but there are a few little things we're going to touch up. Now, normally, I wouldn't want to break the oath of re-recording something.
Is this a Taylor Swift thing going on here, or now it's going to be Blinded, Sage's version that comes out?
Pretty much, because I tell you what, and Callum will tell you this himself. Callum is so much better at singing now than he was a year ago. And he was adamant that he wants to go in and do it again as like a fuck you. So he's going in twice as pissed off, twice as good at singing. So who knows? You're going to get a more adrenaline fueled Blinded experience.
Well, if you're going to do that, you should add extra guitars from New Homie, because he wasn't on there, was he?
No, but we asked him about that, and he said he's happy to leave that as is. But he said he definitely agrees with doing the vocals.
Just let him plug in and do like a wing, like on one part, and then like that'll be his.
We'll give him one bend. There he is.
All right, so fuck solid. What is it? Solid state. What?
Solid state talent can.
Solid
suck
state
a fart
talent.
out of my ass. Yeah. So
you always you never want to go solid state. You want to go tube amps. No, I'm just kidding. I don't know. I was told that a lot because I always bought solid state amps, and people were like, "Why'd you buy solid state? You should buy tubes." And I always just want to be like, "I'm put a fucking tube up your ass, motherfucker. Just shut up." An amp is only as good as the music you're making with it. If you're making shit music, I don't care what kind of fucking orange amp you have or whatever it is.
I don't care how expensive your gig rig is.
Yeah.
You know, write me a fucking song and play that.
I've heard some amazing music from people playing on shitty amps, and it doesn't matter. But anyway, all right, sorry. Now let's get... Creedence Clearwater Revival is also my number 6, the debut.
Go on in.
It's just fucking covers and basic blues rock, and I was very bored with most of it. But it has Walking on the Water on it, and I really like that song. So it's almost like I had to get through a whole album of things where I'm like, I don't really like any of this. And then that song, I'm like, oh, this is that song. And I was like, because once you hear that guitar part, boom, dong, dong, ding, 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 dong, 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 ding, ding, I was like, oh, yeah, this is that song. I like that song. But, and honestly, a lot of my ranking, aside from my number 1, it was all like, well, how many of the songs that I like? You know, because it's like, in this case, it was just one, really.
Okay.
So it didn't do anything for me, but as I was listening to it, it was very clear. I was like, okay, this is them getting this Creedence, quote unquote swamp rock sound together. And so it's there. So
it's the sales pitch.
It's just it's like the beginning sprint, and then they finally just settle into their shit after this a little bit more. But yeah. I could see people really liking it because it's like, the first Black Sabbath album is nowhere near my favorite Black Sabbath album, but it definitely has things about it that I'm like, this is really fucking fun album. But, comparatively speaking, the next 5, 6 albums they put out, like that's, way better to me, but still. Yeah. Anyway.
Cool. So my number 5 is Willie and the Poor Boys.
Okay, we haven't matched up here again.
Okay, so this one for me is like everybody knows that it's the Fortunate Son album, but to me, this one's got kind of a different vibe at this point, kind of between. To me, it's the album between Green River and Cosmo's Factory. I mean, it is. But it quite literally is. But at points, it feels a little bit lighter than moments on the 2 neighboring albums, where I feel like there's a weight on this album that's a little inconsistent. At points, it's very light, and then all of a sudden you'll have like a rocker, and then I don't know, maybe it's a production thing. I'm not sure, but I do enjoy Down on the Corner. It came out of the sky. Cotton Fields, it's great, sing-alongy one. Fortunate Son, obviously, is a fucking classic. Midnight Special, I enjoy. It is one of those. This one was like kind of the grower Creedence album for me. This one took a minute to really sink in with me. Now I listen to it and I'm like, oh, this is a nice vibe. But I will say the nice thing about Creedence albums is to me at least, they're never too long. They never really they never outstay their welcome. They're all pretty.
A couple of the songs do, but not the albums.
Perhaps, yeah. There are a couple of songs that you could shave maybe a couple minutes off. But in terms of like an album as a package, it's not too much of a commitment to listen to. And for me, Willie and the Poor Boys is probably the grower album of this discography. But I've still have a more immediate love for the stuff I placed above it, and that's why it's here. This is, we're in the top 5, of a 7 album ranking, don't get me wrong. Yeah. But as far as I'm concerned, it's like, okay, these guys know what they're fucking doing. Yeah. And I like this. So it's not that I hate this, it's that I like the other 4 above it more.
Sweet.
Yeah.
All right. My number 5 is Bayou Country from 1969, which is their second album and their first of 3 from 1969. I did like that it's already a more interesting sound on this album. And when it comes to songs that I legitimately like from Creedence, Born on the Bayou is legitimately a song that I like by them. The whole vibe of it has always been very cool, which is weird because they have some songs that the vibe is hillbilly dorky and I don't fucking like it at all. But then there's other ones where there is, you know, when I hear Born on the Bayou, that's one of the few times where, like, when they call them swamp rock, I'm like, this sounds like that. Yeah. When I see that term, I think of this song. And anyway, so the worst things about this and some of the albums is the blues jams, and it ruins the momentum.
There's two very long songs on this,
and it ruins the momentum. But not only that, it really got me thinking. Why is it okay? So, like, if you go online now and you take in like music content on, you know, the Instagram Reels or TikTok or whatever, you're definitely going to run into videos or entire creators where what their thing is trying to point out how one song rips off another song, and they'll be all like, "This sounds just like this," then they'll be pointing to the fucking thing above them, and they're fucking annoying as shit. And there's everywhere you go, it's people saying like, well, this song rips off this song. This song rips off this song. How come in the world of blues, people don't just fucking say that all the time? Because legitimately, there's like 2 actual blues songs, and then like everything is a fucking ripoff. Because like, why is it okay? Because it's not like there are, like, the other night I was listening to the first White Stripes album. And obviously there's blues influence in Jack White's stuff. But as I was listening to it, I was like, okay, I can hear the standard blues element, but he always takes something in some other direction, either on the chorus or in the actual guitar riff or in his vocals or something. But so much of this music that's supposed to be like beloved is literally a carbon copy of 500, maybe 5,000 other blues songs with the same notes in the same key, with the vocals sounding very similar. There's just different words, and sometimes very similar words. So I'm just like, why is that okay? Because this isn't a case of you know, you and I as songwriters, sometimes something creeps into your head and you'll write a riff and you'll not realize that you've been influenced by something because what you weren't cognizant of it at the time. When you're doing these blues jams and blues type songs, you know that you're just fucking ripping shit off. And everyone's just like, it's great. I love this blues sound. I'm like, what do you mean? It's the same fucking shit over and over again. Even in 1969, it was already the same shit over and over again. So it's like, when it's a 7-minute song that is just and then every once in a while a guy will go, I'm just like, how many of those songs exist? 5,000, 500,000, a million. It's fucking annoying, which is why I hate that area of music so much. Like some blues is amazing. But for me, like it's either got to be like crusty beginning of time blues where you know these motherfuckers didn't hear each other, or later on blues where people are just kind of fucking with it. Like maybe we made it psychedelic, or maybe we whatever. Yeah. But like when you're literally just making Bayou Country ends with a 7-minute song that is one note. It's literally just one note for 7 minutes, and doing a solo and doing a jam around a song that is one note does not take that much talent. And I should know because I don't have a lot of talent and I can do it. So there you go. So these things really take away from the album. When you have like a song like Born on the Bayou that just sounds so fucking unique and cool. Yeah. And then after that, it's just like another blues ripoff song, and I'm just like, even with John Fogerty's amazing voice, it just aggravates me that so much time is wasted on some of these albums with that stuff. And this is going to be a hot take, but it's legitimately my opinion. I would be perfectly okay if I never hear Proud Mary ever again in my entire life. It's not an awful song. It's just really not, it doesn't do anything for me. I'd rather listen to the fucking Tina Turner version of that than ever listen to the Creedence version of it ever again. And I realize that he wrote it, but yeah, it's just, yeah. Anyway, sorry. Bayou Country did not do much for me at all. Which really, like, you know, a lot of my gripes right now are spread across like 4 albums, but I did enjoy this one more than the previous 2. But it's just, you know, like, I think my problem is people giving a lot of credit to these kind of blues jam ripoff songs. And as long as we can step back and go, that's not really that great, then I'm cool. But if you start pointing at it like they're amazing musicians, I'm like, well, maybe on other songs. But anyway, Bayou Country.
Cool. Well, I can jump right off of that because my number 4 is Bayou Country.
All right.
And I agree, Bayou Country, Born on the Bayou is such a good opener. Yeah. And it's such a statement of intent following the previous album. It's like, oh, we got a vibe now. And we're doing that the best, you know, but best at this vibe going. And I agree that, you know, those 2 long jam songs, they go on a bit, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know that if you're really into that kind of sound, they're probably fucking great songs, and they probably really get you going and give you what you want out of that style of music. But that's not what I want. So especially with better songs on the album.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think when it comes down to like bluesy, vibey songs, there is kind of that element of, if you allow yourself to just like kind of sink into it a little bit, you go into almost kind of like, it's almost, I know it's weird to say, but it's like almost kind of like a trancey sort of thing where it's like, there's kind of a mantra of this song repeating.
Yeah, and that's the thing. That's why I'm saying, if you're into it, it's the same way. I don't want to just point fingers at blues. I'll point it at like doom metal. Or stoner metal too. Like, I've seen some bands that it's just the most retread, rehashed bullshit. But if you're in the right mood, and maybe you're in a fucking live club and you've had a couple beers and the doom metal band starts, there's those times I go, okay, never mind, this is fucking cool. But it's just, sometimes if you're just putting that shit on and it's just drony for, you know, God forbid, an entire album sleep. It's just sometimes it's just like, for me, it doesn't cut it. A little bit of drone or a little bit of repetitiveness every once in a while can make for a really cool song. But if that's most of what you do, I'm really, really bored. But once again, those bands do all have a lot of success. And so, as I usually say, who the fuck am I? So, you know.
Well, you know, at the end of the day, bluesy stuff is very much feel based, isn't it? Like, it's very,
sure, yeah.
You know, it's not, you know, you're not going into this expecting shred. What you are going in with is like kind of is there a song here, and is there enough vibe to it to where it can extend? And
I'll go so far as to even say that, because we did the Led Zeppelin ranking.
Yeah.
And they have songs that, like, I criticized for that very thing. But there's at least a vibe to those Led Zeppelin songs where I can give them a little bit more credit. But even then, I'm just like, you guys could have just cut that song altogether. That would have been a better live performance song, maybe. But
yeah. Oh, and, you know, I feel you. If this, generally speaking, isn't like your main taste, like, I really love this sound, and if I'm, you know, for me, it's a very like foggy, rainy morning type vibe.
Sure.
Where if I'm in the car and I'm driving and it's like shitty weather, but Born on the Bayou, through this whole album, I'm like, oh yeah,
Yeah.
this is what I needed this morning.
Yeah, sometimes it's just the right time and the right vibe. Like I don't know why I just thought of this song, but "Riders on the Storm" by The Doors. That's a song.
Yes.
That's a song that like
You don't listen to it on a sunny day.
there's just something you just get lost in that fucking song, and
Yeah.
it's not a super complicated song, and it is long, but it just does something. It delivers some kind of vibe that feels very nice. One day we will do The Doors, which would be interesting because I consider myself a Doors fan, but I've been into them for a long time since I was a kid. So, but put them on the list.
Yeah, I need to go beyond the hits. I've heard a few Doors albums and I like them.
Yeah,
But
and when in the respect of like us talking about like you're into the sound that Creedence is doing, and it's like I always like it's why like I get so much of my thoughts musically off of my chest with you because we kind of think alike. But my normal go-to like response in normal conversation when somebody comes up to me and says, "Oh, what about this album? Is it good? Do you like it?" And I'm always like, "Yes, I really like this album. I also like death metal." So like just for the normal person, I'm like, you don't, because I guarantee that there's a lot of music I listen to that a whole bunch of people out there just think is fucking nonsense. And I understand that. So that's why I'm all like, take my opinion with a grain of salt because like, there's some shit that I'm into that you'll be like, this is just fucking noise. I'm like, yes, it is. It is just noise.
I mean, to be fair, coming at Keep On Chuglin from someone who, just a few months ago we were talking about Napalm Death. So like, of course this is it's gonna feel pretty tame by comparison, like, doing a blues riff on a like kind of a repetitive vibe sort of thing. But I still like it. And I think for me, music is a very, and this kind of happened to me as I got a little older. Music now can be a very mood dependent thing to where, there have been times in my life and I have days like it and I have days where I'm not like it, where I'll turn around and say, I would be quite happy for anything to play on my phone right now. And then there are other days where I'm like, I need this specific thing right now. And I've had days where I thought to myself, I've tried to listen to new music when I'm not really in the mood for it, but I'm like, I want to keep in touch a little bit. And it's just not a good idea because if you're not in the right frame of mind, you're not going to have a good time.
That's why I got so much of my music. Well, pretty much all of my music enjoyment is done alone. I mean, my wife is like, right next door. And so she can hear everything I'm playing, but I'm by myself. And so I go with whatever vibe I'm wanting at the time. But it is weird. I'd like to know what it is in our brain that like sometimes like just some certain band will pop up and your brain just goes, I really need to hear this. I really need to hear this. So much so that like sometimes it lasts because like, I do all my music listening on the weekends aside from some random stuff online throughout the week or what if we're doing this. But for an entire week this last week, for some reason my brain was like, we need to hear REM. We need to hear some REM this weekend. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. And I just like, and then when I put it on, it just felt so fucking perfect. I was just like, oh my God, I want to buy every REM album now. Because like it just did something to me. And I'm like, what is that? What happens in the brain? And I don't know.
I get that with games too. Like, I'll think of a game and it'll live rent free in my head until I play it again. And then I have to play through the whole game. And then once I've done that, which by the way, pleased to announce, drum roll, I, over the course of a week, dedicated an entire week to this, had some time off, and I thought to myself, what's the only thing I've never fully achieved in GTA San Andreas? And I've finally done it. I got 1 million criminal score points, which makes you the king of San Andreas. It gives you a big title at the top.
Oh man.
And it's the one thing I'd never done. And you have to grind to get that number. And basically, I figured out a little hack. If you get the Hunter, which is the Apache helicopter, and fly near one of the airports, you can blow up all the planes, and that will give you like 300 points. You turn around, take your view away from the planes, you turn around, they're back again, and you just do another sweep of the airfield. And what I did for like an entire week was just, I had like my phone next to me charging, and I was watching like probably fucking SpongeBob while I was doing it. And I was just going back and forth, just taking these things out. And it was such a commitment. I don't recommend doing it unless you're as crazy as I am. But I finally did it. And needless to say, of all of the tasks in San Andreas, that is by far the most time consuming and frankly hardest to do. And I've done it. And I feel I have felt a physical weight lift off of my shoulders now that I have attained a save file that says King of San Andreas on the top of it.
Do you know something that would be fun? And I don't know. I don't know logistically what we would need to do this, and I probably don't have what we need to do this, but it would be fun for like us. Can we play that game together?
We would need.
Like I'm talking about like what do they call it? Twitch or whatever?
Yeah.
Where literally we're talking to each other and we're playing some GTA game. Is that even possible?
That is entirely possible. I think it would be very complicated to pull off though, and I think in terms of like there's no multiplayer on the PC version as far as I know, which would. But yeah, we can figure something out. You know what? You could maybe do a series called "Trying to Beat Eddie Sparxx." Game.
Well, I would want you to be on there because I think us talking about it as it's going on would be entertaining to some people.
That would be incredible because I'd be able to give you like real time advice on how to get past a certain part.
Yeah,
you'd be stuck on something. I'd be like, right. There's a guy with a Spas 12 shotgun. He's going to take you out if you aren't careful. You need to have this weapon, get around there, get him before he gets this close, and you're home free.
Well, maybe we need to do it eventually, you know, because obviously I would have to put in the money to get whatever console I would need so it worked the right way. But maybe we'd have to do a multiplayer type game where we literally could be playing together. And
that would be fun.
And talking on our headsets, I mean, like Call of Duty or some shit. I don't know.
Yeah.
But something like that where I know it's multiplayer. And then, you know, then I can be like, Leroy Jenkins. I don't even game, but I know that one. And the other one I really like is You Stole My Cloud Song. That one is great too. Anyway.
Awesome.
I think eventually that would be a fun thing to do. But I really wish that there was a multiplayer GTA.
There is so GTA 5.
Oh, okay.
Which is the current one is multiplayer. Well, has like a multiplayer online mode.
Yeah, which is what we would need because obviously we're not sitting next to each other on the same console, so we'd have to be able to join each other online. Anyway, that for a future reference, for a future idea, that I feel like that would be fun. But then I'd have to buy a PS3 or something. Like, what would I need? Is that what you play? PS3?
Well, we're on the PS5 now.
But you mean you're not on Windows 95 anymore?
I still haven't got a PS5. I've not got around to getting one because I know I almost did. I almost did last year. Because Black Ops 6 came out and it's set in 1991 and I was like, ooh, may have to, but I haven't got around to it yet because GTA 6 is coming out, and the jury's out on whether or not there will be a PS6 by then. So,
Wow. Yeah, I wouldn't even know where to begin. I'm still sitting on the idea of trying to get a refurbished original NES, because I really want to do that.
Yeah.
But I still can't even pull the trigger on that, let alone a newer one that I don't know if there'll be games I want to play on it.
This is at risk of sounding like a gatekeeper or a boomer. As far as I'm concerned, you really cannot beat both the atmosphere and the untouched soundtrack of the original PS2 GTA San Andreas. That is just, I genuinely, firmly, in my heart of hearts, believe it may be the greatest entertainment product of all time.
Wow.
It is the best-selling game on the best-selling console of all time, and I think that speaks volumes.
Sure.
Considering the fact it's a game that people speedrun to this day, talk about to this day, and are still making constant YouTube content about to this day. And this is me nerding out for a moment. Imagine talking about GTA on a CCR podcast. So the thing that really stands out to me about that era of gaming is that, don't get me wrong, right? There is a level of detail nowadays that games can put in that is absolutely insane. And some of the new shit coming out is getting to the point where differentiating it from a movie is very hard. There are moments.
But I don't even want that from a game.
But here's the thing, right? There's such a charm to looking at how these old games were made, where it's like, you look at a fucking rock, and it's just a picture of a rock that's been stretched over like a fucking dodecahedron and just planted on a patch of grass. There's such a charm there. But even of its era, it was pushing the hardware to its limit, and there is so much detail and love and care put into every corner of the PS2 era GTA games that it's just unparalleled. There is so much immersive world building in that is just, to this day, I get sucked in. And like, everybody looks like they're made of Play-Doh these days, but like, you know, it's like watching Thunderbirds. You forget they're puppets. You're invested. The world is that good and that convincing that you forget it after a while. It's that suspension of disbelief or whatever it's called.
Well, there we go.
With that,
Bayou Country. No, what were you on? I talked about Bayou Country. What were you talking about? Was your number 4?
My number 4 was Bayou Country, and
okay.
I liked it. I understand your criticisms, and that is part of why it is down here and not a little further up. So, bada boom, bada bing, they're getting there. So, next up,
my number 4. Yeah, my number 4 is Green River from 1969.
Say what?
Yeah, that's my number 4. The third album and the second of that year. Once again, like there's, obviously they've progressed in their sound or what they're wanting to do, and they're very good at it. And there's some small. I've noticed that like there's some songs on this that I think overall are pretty dull songs for me, but they all have some small moments that I really enjoyed, and I thought that was interesting. But there's still a little bit too much samey blues stuff all over the place. But at least on Green River, they avoided a long blues jam, so that's good.
Yeah, they definitely refined it to song length.
The big one off this one, I guess, would be Bad Moon Rising, which I don't love that song. It's good. The one that I did surprisingly really like off this album is Sinister Purpose. That was one.
Dude, thank you. Yeah. Clap. That is one of the most underrated classic rock songs.
Yeah, I was very impressed, and I really enjoyed that one. But overall, the album still doesn't do a lot for me. But I do like that they're kind of tightening things up, and there's little things here and there where I go, okay, well, that was cool. That was a little more enjoyable. And then if you have a song that I've never heard before that all of a sudden is one that I like, then that's good too. So, I feel like Green River is the one that a lot of people love, but it didn't do a lot for me. But I didn't hate it, but it ends up being my number 4.
Fair play, fair play. I always thought Sinister Purpose felt like a proto Sabbath song, where it's got that.
I really feel
this guy is great.
I really feel like the Creedence stuff that clicks with me is their darker stuff.
Yeah,
When the tone of a song feels dark, like it clicks with me. So I don't know.
And I feel like John Fogerty, his voice has the capacity to sell it. He's got that gruff, in there. That's, that when the sky is gray, and the moon is here.
There's so many like that, there's something to be said for being a vocalist that has that unique and interesting of a voice where not only are you a great singer, but you're also very recognizable among thousands of singers,
Yeah.
So, so that's pretty cool. Even more so nowadays where like so many singers sound exactly like everybody else, like, and they produce themselves to sound like, just like everybody else. And I'm just like, all right, well, I'm just the old man here yelling at a cloud, but anyway, yeah. So number 3.
Cool. So my number 3 is Pendulum.
Okay.
And this is probably, to be honest, pardon me, in terms of being cohesive and being layered and produced very nicely, this is kind of like, in terms of how it sounds, in terms of layers and interesting instruments and stuff like that. I mean, let's have a look at what John Fogerty alone played on this. Vocals, lead guitar, piano, organ, Fender Rhodes, electric piano, saxophone, percussion, producer and arranger. There's double bass, there's kalimba, there's all sorts of things. There is the core CCR sound here, but they took it to they took it to strange new places. Yeah, and I think that's fucking awesome, and it makes the follow-up such a shame in retrospect, because I think they really were. This to me is like CCR doing their best Beatles. Like they're crack at doing something like the Beatles would have done, where there's lots of cool instruments. The songs get a little more out there. There's a bit more playing with effects and reverbs and other things like that.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm kicking myself because this is the latest album from them that I got into. I only ever really knew Have You Ever Seen the Rain when I first got into CCR. So I was always really drawn to, Green River, Cosmos Factory, those ones. And I never really spent a lot of time with this. I'm sorry, where the fuck was I? Because this is great, I really like this album.
There's so much music out there that you'll get around you'll get around to it someday, or you won't, which is the unfortunate part. That's the saddest part about not being able to live forever, is that I know that even on my deathbed I'm going to be like, God damn it, there's other music I wanted to discover and listen to,
Yeah.
Dude,
I did the craziest shit back in the day, and I still haven't fully met the quota. And it played a part in starting this podcast, because I thought to myself, what's a great excuse to listen to all the music ever? Have a deadline to have it in by. So I thought to myself, fuck it. Well, I can't ignore it if I'm going to let someone else down if I don't get it done.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, what better way to listen to cool stuff than to light a fire under my ass and get off it?
Yeah.
And I remember one time I went to the there's a Wikipedia article called List of Glam Metal Bands and Artists. And I remember I copied all of the names into a Word document, and then I went through all of their discographies and all of the albums between about 1983 and 4 and 91 and 92. I just put them all into a giant fucking list chronologically, and I just I would go to this other website called Random Letter Generator, where it would give you a random letter, and whichever that landed on, I would go to one of the albums in that list and just pick it at random. And I found some really cool shit by doing that.
Yeah.
You know, kind of playing, record roulette like you do.
Yeah, it's fun that's the one thing, is that doing this podcast, like on my own, I wouldn't listen to all of the Creedence albums, obviously. And even though like I didn't come away like I was wrong about Creedence, I still don't like them that much. But I feel like it makes me a better music fan, and it makes me a better music podcaster or whatever. I feel like it's like I have to listen to things that I'm not necessarily going to like and learn about things, because I feel like that helps all of the stuff that I do like. I don't know. I feel like it's all part of the arsenal that we build of like knowing about music to where we can confidently talk about it, because otherwise we're just two morons that are just like, I only like the first 4 albums or whatever. But why? Oh no, it's just how I feel. Oh,
they made a music video on the 5th album, and I just lost them after that.
Yeah.
I will say, if you had to say, being as we're 5 years into this now, if you had to say, like, if you could pick one band where I kind of led the charge on it, where you weren't that big a fan, and then you went in and you were like, holy shit, retrospectively, if you had to pick like one band that since doing this podcast has really blown you the fuck away out of nowhere, who would it be? Because I think I can pick 2 potential guesses.
Not really out of nowhere, but for me, it's Judas Priest.
Yeah. So it was going to be Judas Priest, but also since doing the Toto episode, you've gone and
Toto as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's another one that I got really into. But Judas Priest is now a band that, because I listened to I have the Toto albums all the way. I don't have the 7th one yet. That's the next one I want to get. But Judas Priest, I now have everything up to Painkiller. And not only that, I find myself wanting to go back and listen to all the albums again. Like, they've become a band that I'll hear a Judas Priest song and go, oh, I just want to go listen to like all their albums again. So that says a lot about that band, because they were a band that I liked some songs, but I wasn't a fan. And now I would call myself a full-on fan. Yeah. So that's got to be the big one for me.
I was going to say, we've got to do a revisit of that, because some of my picks since you made a case for them have changed significantly. And I'm not saying that I'm just aping your list at this point where I'm like, no, he was right.
The funny thing is, I don't know if my ranking would change that much. I just think that I would have more positive things to say about more of the albums now, because I still think Defenders of the Faith is fucking amazing, and that might be my favorite Judas Priest album. And I still also really love Point of Entry, and I feel like it's super underrated.
I underrated it last time, and it would be in a much different place now.
Yeah, but at the same time, like I have more respect for like British Steel and albums like that I thought, I feel like this is kind of overhyped or isn't as good as people say. But it's the other songs on those albums that became the ones where I go, this is cool and also not metal.
Yeah.
So these are the songs that other people are ignoring, and they're the ones where I'm like, actually, Breaking the Law is a good song, and it's made better by this other song that is totally nothing like that.
Yeah.
And so it just, I think that's why I've gotten so into them, is because I threw myself into the non-single tracks.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, there's so much really great shit. There's some good, softer stuff on the earlier stuff that I'm just like, these are just a beautiful fucking songs.
What's that one? What's that one near the end of British Steel that kind of starts off like do 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 do
Oh,
do do do, and then goes into that dang
yeah.
dang
I've literally
It's
now,
either-
I literally
it's
can't
either
remember
the-
any of the other names of the songs on that album now. They all went away.
I feel like it's either the Rage or Steeler. I feel like it's the Rage, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
God damn it.
that song rules.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So
Yeah.
that's got to be. Do you have one that like you did that like I got you into that would be like the big one?
I remember being like, I got, God, I'm going blank now. I'm on the spot, but I tell you what, I got really into, Twisted into Form by Forbidden for like a full 2 months, where it was like
Yeah.
all I listened to outside of listening for the show. Let me have
I have a feeling that very soon when we do Galactic Cowboys, I think that's going to be a one that you really like.
let's have a look here. Da, 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 shabba-dabba-dabba-da. Da, 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 da. Kiss was the one.
Oh, yeah.
Kiss was the massive one.
I love that we both like latched onto like legendary bands.
Yeah.
And yeah. Well, honestly, like I've through talking about Kiss have become a bigger and bigger and bigger fan, where I thought I was already a big fan. But
Yeah.
I'm like, no, now I'm fucking a huge fucking fan.
Tell you
of
who
everything.
tell you who I and Amy have been listening to a lot of recently. Rush.
Oh, yeah.
Rush fucking rules, man.
Mm-hmm.
And they're the big legendary band that I'm ashamed that they came in that late into my life. And
Yeah.
every time I listen to a Rush album, I come away from it loving it even more.
Yeah.
And I already came away from it thinking, this rules.
Yeah.
Like, dude, fucking Xanadu came on the other day and I thought, what?
Oh, fuck. That song is amazing.
That's like, what?
Dude, you get when that song kicks in with that riff, that whole part. Oh fuck yeah, amazing. Anyway, all right. I guess this makes sense that we do a little bit of reminiscing because it is 5 years into this podcast.
Well, it's been on my mind a lot recently, the passage of time and,
Yeah.
when I started this show with you, I was in my early 20s and now I'm in my late 20s. I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah.
The passage of time waits for no man, which is why we got to listen to all the fucking music in the world before we fucking pop our clogs.
Yeah.
So
and then it'll all be for nothing. Isn't that the sad thing? It's not like we get to. Well, I guess if you're religious, you get to move on. But like I don't believe in that shit. So it's just all like I have all this music knowledge, and then you're dead.
well, you know what? I'm going to be very musically satisfied worm food if that is the case.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
So bada boom, bada
I just
bing.
want to know what the last song is going to be in my head. Like whether I die in an accident or like, I die of natural causes and I kind of just slip into death. Because there's always songs in my head. I'm like,
Yeah.
I wonder what's the last song going to be?
If it's the We Buy Any Car advert, I'm going to be pissed off. Yeah.
It's going to be Baby Shark doo 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 doo. That's going to be in your head when you're dying. Anyway, what you were on your number 3?
Anymore? It's probably the most, inventive and out there.
Pendulum. That's what you're on, number 3. Yeah.
Pendulum. I mean, like it says here, it expands the band's sonic palette with instruments such as keyboards and saxophones.
Yeah.
In contrast to very guitar dominated.
I always enjoy a saxophone appearing anywhere.
Oh,
really.
Absolutely. Hot take. Saxophone solos need to make a comeback. I don't even think that's a hot take. I just think people just aren't fucking doing it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. I love a good sax solo. Anyway, okay. Are you done? Moving on to my number 3?
Yeah, sounds good. Sounds good to me, man.
My number 3 is Cosmos Factory from 1970.
Okay. Cool.
The 5th album. And I was like, what does my note say here? Oh yeah, it says the first song, Ramble Tamble, is a long song where other things actually happen, and it has a very cool midsection. So that's a song that's long, and it didn't appear long, and the whole middle section of that song is very cool. But once again, there's more basic bitch, paint by numbers, blues, rock shit on this album also. But it also has Run to the Jungle, which is a fucking banger. So that's good too. And there's also other like quote unquote hits on here, but they're not ones that do anything for me. That I don't care. I know the songs, but they've never been songs that I like, and they still didn't do anything for me in the context of an album. But this is, I put it right here. Long as I See the Light is good and has a sax solo. So that, I liked that song already. And then when the saxophone came in, I went, okay, all right. We're cooking now. So, so there, Cosmos Factory does have things on it that I was like, cool. Yeah. I almost feel like I could go through and just take the songs that I like and make like what I consider a very good CCR album, because they have the ability to do really cool shit. It's just so much of it is just tied to the same old blues rock stuff, and it just gets so boring. And maybe it wasn't. Maybe if I was, if I was alive, an adult in 1970, maybe the blues rock shit wouldn't appear so fucking boring to me. But in 2025, I'm so over it. I've been over it for a very long time. But yeah, Cosmos Factory had some good shit on it. But obviously the two that I have as number 1 and number 2 had more shit that I enjoyed. So that's why they're higher. So that's my number 3.
Well, I can jump right off of that because my number 2 is Cosmos Factory.
Okay.
And I think honestly, this one right here is just fucking great. It's brilliant. I absolutely love Ramble Tamble. Like, I remember the first time I stuck this album on, I was like, opening with a long song, that's brave. And then it's like the most interesting long song they've done.
Yeah, it's great.
And it's like, okay, I'm in. And there are 4 covers on this, and I will say, in terms of long songs, I actually get completely lost in Heard It Through the Grapevine, because I love that song so much as it is, that I'm just perfectly okay with just sitting there and being vibed out.
Yeah, that I had no problem with that one, but just the fact that it was a cover on a short album, like that's when there's covers on these albums, even if it's done really well. There's one exception that I'll get to, but I'm just like, yeah, it's a great cover, but I feel like they could have done something more interesting there.
Yeah, it does account for a full quarter of the album's runtime at 11 minutes 5 seconds.
Yeah.
But like you say, the songwriting is in full swing here, and they're not just doing the swamp rock thing at this point. They're adding stuff, and the songwriting's really strong. Traveling Band is a furious rocker, and Run Through the Jungle gives me fucking chills. Like, I love that
gives
song.
Me Nom flashbacks, and I was in Nom.
yeah, literally. I actually said recently to Callum that we should cover it, and he's totally down because he loves that song as well. I think our sound would lend itself quite well to it.
Yeah.
Fucking awesome. But yeah. I mean, above all else, it's just a really strong album of this era. And simply put, nice.
Nice. All right.
Nice.
My number 2 is Willie and the Poor Boys from 1969.
Okay.
Their 4th album and 3rd in a row for 1969. Here's the weird thing about this album. So there's a juxtaposition on this album between classic songs and songs I really enjoyed and absolutely fucking god awful songs. And so it's really weird. So like I always appear like if I was religious and I thought that there was a hell, I would assume that because of who I am, my hell would be having to listen to music that just fucking bothers me over and over again. So it would, obviously there'd be a lot of like talking heads in there in hell. But one song that would definitely play on a loop in my hell is Down on the Corner. It is, I can't stand it. It really drives me up the wall. But on the same fucking album, you have Fortunate Son, which I don't know anybody that doesn't like Fortunate Son. I know a whole lot of people that don't understand what the song's about. But like it's a fucking great song. And I really like the Midnight Special, which is like technically a cover, but I think I've just determined that the reason why I love that song is because of the Twilight Zone movie.
Right.
At the very beginning of the Twilight Zone movie, Dan Aykroyd and who's the other guy in the car with them in the beginning of the movie? Anyway, they're singing the Midnight Special while they're driving, and it's like that whole beginning of the movie where it's like, you want to see something really scary? Like that. That's like one of the best beginnings of a movie. Just that whole sequence is so fucking great. Anyway, so that's I've always kind of had a soft spot for that one just because I liked that part of the movie. That's probably my favorite part of the entire Twilight Zone movie. Anyway, but like, it's got some lame songs that I didn't like. I liked Effigy. Effigy was one that I didn't know but enjoyed. But I just feel like overall, I felt like it was a good album, and it's hard for me to. Like, as much as I kept hearing songs and going, I'm not into this, I kept having to like think about them, like the quality of the album. I'm like, I feel like this is really good, very well put together, a good combination of different songs, and maybe I'm not into all of them, but I feel like, for like their regular sorry about that, for their regular sound, I feel like Willie and the Poor Boys is kind of like the best of that regular. Because once you get to my number one, I feel like it's a very different album. But Willie and the Poor Boys feels like, oh, this is a good, do you know Creedence Clearwater Revival? No, I don't. Well, here, listen to Willie and the Poor Boys. I feel like that's a good one to start with. And it's well done, even if I don't like all the songs. But, so yeah, that's my number two. And moving on to your number one, numero uno.
Cool.
Of the Creedence.
So, my number one is Green River. And I can remember it was about around this time, 7 years ago now in 2018, I just suddenly really had a hankering for like the classic rock stuff.
Yeah.
And the first place I went, because I knew it'd be a great jumping off point, was the KDST radio in GTA San Andreas. Now, I'd always liked songs from that station, but I was always much more of a Radio X guy, where I was listening to Alice in Chains, Stone Temple Pilots, fucking Soundgarden, Faith No More, all the stuff.
Well, shit, not just that. You've got the hip hop station, you have the funk station on there. Like, there's so many great stations on that, which we ranked. If you haven't listened to that, go look up Cranked and Ranked Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Radio
that
stations.
Was a really fun episode. I think that's our longest episode as well.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah.
But there's so much great music there. So I could understand like not getting around to the classic rock side of things yet. So
Oh, speaking of, yesterday I was in a charity shop. Guess what I found? 12-inch single.
Oh shit, what?
La Raza, Kid Ross.
No way.
Kid Frost. 12-inch.
That's one that I so badly want, and I'll eventually get it. Oh my god, that's such a good song.
I know. I saw it. And I was like, boom.
Yes.
In the bag. You go.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's one I need. I need to get that one. That's like I have like a Discogs list of things I haven't gotten yet, and that 12 inches on there.
The thing that always made me laugh is like one of the hired goons by the pimp that you help out in like the mid part of the game, called T-Bone Mendez, is voiced by Kid Frost.
Oh, he is.
So when you're in the game, I remember one time I put two and two together that I'd never done before. I heard the voice actor yelling at you while you're driving along. We gotta find this guy. He's in a van somewhere. He's been kidnapped. I've got him on the phone. And then La Raza came on, and I was like, wait. And I had a really cool moment where I was like, oh shit! So in the game,
Yeah.
this is that guy.
That's awesome. Yeah, that song is great.
Had a similar thing with the guy who voices Ryder, who is MC8, and
Oh, yeah.
Hood took me under is in the game as well. So when you've got these characters voiced by people that have done songs in the game, it's kind of like you're going along and you're like, this weirdly thickens out the lore of this world while I'm driving along.
Yeah.
And it's But cycling back to Green River, so Green River, this song just really connected with me one day, and I was like, who does this? This sounds familiar. This dude sounds familiar. And I was like, oh, it's CCR. I need to get into these guys. And then I listened to the album front to back, and it was one of those moments where you're in the exact right mindset and you pick the exact right thing. And it just completely, for the next, what was it, 29 minutes and 25 seconds was the perfect thing for that. I think I liked it so much I listened to it again. Which is awesome when something like that happens. When you like something so much that, you just feel compelled to keep it going.
Yeah.
I can remember when I got Fireworks by Bonfire, and that album was one of those where I'd listen to it front to back twice in a row. That's a great album. I'd love to talk about that one. But
that was a beer sip for the podcast people.
Sorry, that was a poorly timed
It's a
beer
very
sip.
big beer. What do you call that? A stein?
It's a stein. It's
Yeah, it's as big as his fucking head.
It is, and I've got a very large head. Old head and big head. It's fucking fantastic. I'm just going to read the track list. Green River, classic song, and that's the song from San Andreas that drew me to it in the first place. Commotions, this up-tempo, rootsy kind of strangely pounding for its era. Tombstone Shadows, really bluesy. Wrote a Song for Everyone is one of the more ballad tracks. Bad Moon Rising and Lodi are classics. Cross Tie Walker, great song. Sinister Purpose, man, that's like a top 3 Creedence song for me. I fucking love that song. And finishing off with The Nighttime is the Right Time. I think that there's only one cover on this as well, which makes it probably like the most originals, in terms of the actual track listing.
Aside from Pendulum.
Aside from Pendulum, yeah. So this is one of the most original of these albums. And I think it pays off in dividends, because this is, frankly, if 8 of the 9 songs are your own and they all slap and you do a good cover as well, that's pretty boss,
Yeah.
if you ask me. So with that, it's fucking fantastic, and frankly worthy of all of the heaps of praise that it gets for the sound it's going for. I think it's a high point of 60s rock music, and I think it's to be celebrated. I really enjoy this one. It's one of my favorites, probably a 100 album of all time for me. So
Nice.
Me likey.
Cool. So it brings us to my number 1, which is legitimately an album that I enjoyed all the way through, Pendulum from 1970. Their 6th album. I'm just going to read my notes, because I remember I was making notes as I was listening to the album. And I wrote, Pagan Baby is a good start, still that rehash blues structure shit, but with some attitude that makes it enjoyable. And then I wrote, all original songs, finally. The horn section on some of these songs is a nice addition to the sound. Have You Ever Seen the Rain is a nice song. I don't love it, but I do like it. Way more interesting songwriting on this one. Wish I Could Hide Away is nice. Born to Move is great too. Kept waiting for the bad song, and it didn't come. Even the simpler songs are pretty enjoyable, and they got all experimental with that last track, which I really enjoyed. The fact that that one gets a little weird, I'm like, that's all I love the fact that this is an album that feels more like, I don't know, what would you call it? Soul? Instead of blues, it feels like soul, like in there. And then at the end, they just get a little weird with it. And the horns in it are so good. Like, it just feels like such a well put together, written, polished, produced, everything about it. It's a full on album. There's no covers. There's no wasted time, in my opinion. I mean, maybe somebody could hear that last song and go, well, it's just weird at the end. They don't really do anything. I'm like, well, I feel like they do a lot, but I don't know. It's just me. But I was putting down the notes, and every single album, I was like, there's going to be that one song where I just go, fuck, no thanks. But like Pendulum, all the way through, I was just like, man, I really like every song on this album to varying degrees. But at the end of it all, I was like, that's a good album. Like I can't fuck with that one at all. I can't talk shit about it because I legitimately enjoyed it. But yeah, so I mean, it was an interesting journey listening to all their stuff because in certain cases, my opinion didn't change at all about some of the stuff, and I still don't like it. But also I know that it's not for me but Pendulum, at least, I feel like it's the weirdo of their albums because it still sounds like a Creedence album, but
it's not playing by the rules.
It also, but I don't think if somebody's a really big Creedence fan is like, I just want to listen to some Creedence, I feel like they're not going to pick Pendulum. They're going to pick a different album. But as an album that's just all fucking great shit, this is the one for me. So it ends up being my number one, Pendulum, from 1970.
That was a smooth transition.
Yeah, I'm trying to get better with these now because I haven't changed them out in a long time, so I know which one's which. No,
I say let's raise some cane. Let's raise some cane.
Nice.
So anyway, but yeah, I mean that was like I said, I enjoyed that a lot more than Architects, because even with not really liking some of this stuff, I feel like they were overall more enjoyable albums because there's more of a variety and
for sure
some legitimate songs. That was the thing with Architects. I couldn't tell you different songs. I'm just like, I don't know. It was just like one long fucking song. Whereas in this one, there would be, this is a different song. And this one I really like. This next song, fuck this song. But it doesn't matter because it was like the experience. And well, like I said, now CCR is part of my arsenal of like, I've heard all their shit. I can have a conversation about CCR instead of just going, I don't like them. I can back it up now. But no, Pendulum was great. I was very surprised. By that point, I was like, oh, this is going to be another one where I'm just talking shit for 2 hours. But I'm like, nope, they did it. They did an album that I really liked.
Sweet.
So
I thought that would happen because they do right before it goes off a cliff with Mardi Gras. They actually get really, really, really interesting, especially with those last two before that point. So yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah. So I mean, it was enjoyable. Now I'm all like, my brain's like, what are we doing next? What's happening next?
We appear to be doing a Reviewculus next.
Oh, no way.
Yeah.
For those of you who don't know what a Reviewculus. We've named it that, and I can't even fucking wrap my mouth around it. That's what she said. Reviewculous is where we go on to like the
Metal Archives Encyclopedia Metalum.
The Metal Archives, and we read people's reviews that they've written for either classic albums, and we read shitty reviews, or we go to albums that a lot of people don't like, and we read good reviews or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what? Maybe I'll do, because I think the last time we did it, I was talking about reviews that I wrote for albums. And I came across the magazine that I wrote reviews for back around like, I don't know, 2007-ish maybe. I should bring those next time and read some of my old reviews of just some random albums, because I didn't hold back. If I didn't like something, it was in the review. I wasn't trying to make any friends.
Which band was it? With the mayonnaise sandwich,
Black Keys.
Yeah.
I called it 10 slices of white bread smothered in mayo or some shit like that. I don't know. Speaking of blues where it's just fucking boring and they do nothing interesting with it at all, the Black Keys. There you go. And then those motherfuckers have the audacity to be on TV shows like authorities on music. I'm just like, get fucked, people.
No.
So the Black Keys ranking is not coming anytime soon. Who knows? Maybe it will.
We've got our April Fool's gag for next year.
No, we should. I feel like April Fool's should be Kid Rock this time. Anyway. All right, so for the peanut butter platypuses, aluminium squirrels, Belvedere ball sitters, and Christmas dogs, thank you very much for sticking around for another. It hasn't been super long, but it's been, we had some tangents in there for a 7-album ranking. We gave you some shit to chew on. So I hope you enjoyed it. And then Reviewculous is up next, where we'll be reading some random reviews. It's a very loosey-goosey kind of episode, and I do enjoy doing those sometimes, where we just get to kind of hang out and kind of do whatever we want. And then after that is Galactic Cowboys, which I'm very excited to talk about. Plus, there is a new Galactic Cowboys album in the works. In fact, I think they're mixing it right now.
Oh, damn.
And you will see my name in the liner notes, because I was one of the Kickstarters.
Hey,
on that shit. And I'm probably I already asked them if they would do an interview closer to the album, and they agreed. So I'm gonna talk to somebody from Galactic Cowboys. Hopefully, everybody. I would love that, but we'll see what happens with that, because I don't even know when they're gonna release it and how that all works. But anyway, great band, and I'm very excited to talk about them. And honestly, like, I know that we don't have like a shitload of listeners and viewers, but I feel I like it when we're very timely with these older bands that are coming back with something, because we can like be like, hey, here, everybody, we're talking about this band, Galactic Cowboys, and guess what? Yeah. They got an album coming out. Go listen to, I like it when we are able to do that, because I feel with all the older music that we love, and a lot of those bands are still kicking it. I feel like it's we're doing our part to be like, hey, don't forget about these. I know you're all listening to your turnstiles and stuff like that out there, but remember, there's these old fucks. They're still doing music.
Did you see that video recently of James Hetfield and Rob Halford watching from backstage, watching Turnstile?
Yeah.
That was the moment I said, yeah, I'm gonna trust my gut and get into Turnstile now. I think, because I've been meaning to.
I like a lot of their stuff. I first heard Turnstile many years ago. They put out an album called Nonstop Feeling, and I don't remember. It's like 4 albums ago, and they were more hardcore then. They still have hardcore elements now, but they're way more experimental, and I actually kind of dig that. But I think they're a band that eventually I'm going to like really get excited about. But like right now, they're kind of like I like watching live footage of them more than anything else. just because the energy, not only of them, but of the crowd. And I love that, like, you know, they seem to be like a very popular band now, to the point where, you know, their album came out, their new album just came out on Friday. And I'm wondering how well it's doing, because like, there's always that part in the back of my head where I go, I want there to be very, very popular, actually good rock bands. And I would put Turnstile in that category. And so I'm like, if they become one of those bands that people all of a sudden hear them and now they're like, oh, now I want more of this rock and roll, you know, I just want somebody to get the ball rolling that isn't total rehash. I don't, you know, I know they get unnecessary shit, but I don't need Greta Van Fleet. I don't need that. We don't need, I want something pushing things forward that's going to bring a huge fucking audience into rock music, metal music, punk music, hardcore, whatever it is, whatever amalgamation of shit is going on. I love it when bands, you know, I don't even really like Knocked Loose, but the fact that people were really into Knocked Loose, I'm like, this is good. This is a good thing. Move in that direction. Let's go. So,
you know something that sounds like a description that sounds like I don't like him, but I actually do like it about him, is that someone turned around and said, it sounds like SpongeBob getting angry to breakdowns. And I was like, about time one of these bands had a different sounding fucking vocalist. I don't care if it sounds like SpongeBob. You know, Gary, you are gonna finish your dessert and you are gonna like it. You know, if that's what
I literally heard the breakdown start. You were gonna
like it. And like I've seen them live, and I tell you what, it's that description is accurate, but I love it for that.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
You know, and don't take this as me, you know, insulting their music, because I'm not. I think they got a great energy to them, and I also think that they're very, you know, raw, and that unhinged energy is very cool.
Yes.
It's just I think he's got a unique voice compared to some of these other bands out here.
Sure. Yeah.
You know,
I would say that the same thing about the guy from Turnstile. Which I like. I love uniqueness, and I like energy and creativity and
feel. And
oh fuck yeah. And I just love people really getting into good rock music. Even if it doesn't connect with me 100%, I actually enjoy watching other people get really into things. So, and when it's something that I think is actually good, I'm just like, fuck yeah, this is great. So anyway, a little tangent after the fucking show this time, guys. Anyway, so yeah, next week we'll be back with Reviewculous. Oh, I said it right that time. Cool. And I don't even know, we haven't even talked about what we're going to do, but I guess we're just going to wing it.
We can do.
And by winging it, I mean read a review of a Winger album, probably.
That's if Winger are even on there.
They're metal. Come on, quit fucking around.
I know. I remember. What is it? Let me have a look.
Yeah, that's another thing. Like, who gets to decide what's metal and what's not? It's not up to the
Winger
metal.
are not on Encyclopedia Metalum.
Well, we just have to try to find another place that reviews other albums that lets random, regular motherfuckers write reviews.
Rat aren't even on Encyclopedia Metalum.
I think it's time to boycott Metal Archives now. If they're not going to put Rat on there, is Motley Crue on there?
I think
if they can't have Motley if they don't have Rat. That just doesn't seem right.
Yeah, see, they've got Motley Crue.
What?
Hold on.
Get your shit together, people. Rat's not on there? All right.
This shit pissed me off.
Yeah, that is not Way Cool Jr. at all.
Music genre, and if I type in glam, what comes up? You can search by, let's have a look here.
I don't. Yeah,
this is awful.
I feel like they're more metallic than Motley Crue, but maybe that's just me. I don't know. I guess because I guess Shout at the Devil gives them a whole lot of cred in the metal community.
The devil.
Which don't get me wrong, that album's a banger. Anyway, okay, let's get the fuck out of here. Now, we'll have plenty of time to talk about what's wrong with the metal archives on the next episode of, I guess it'll be a CNR sidebar. Revuculus number 3 is the third Revuculus that we've done.
I think so.
And who the fuck knows? And who the fuck cares, really? Except for you, because you guys rule. Thank you very much for listening on the podcast side of things. Thank you for watching on the YouTube side of things. You're all beautiful people. And my gift to you now is throwing it over to Young Balls, Mr. Eddie Sparxx, to take us out.
Later, dude!